So today I just thought we'd take a look at this Keurig K-Elite K90, and I've had this coffee maker about 4 years, and the other day it just started making a shorter cup of coffee on me and not finishing the cycle. And what I noticed about it is that when I would go to use it the next time, the K-Cup had a lot of coffee left in the pod and it would leak out from the lid when you opened it up. As you can see here, what it does, it just stops. It's like the pump is not purging all the coffee out of the tank. You don't hear that air at the end purge the coffee out. So I just thought we'd take a look inside. Cleaning alone and descaling is not taking care of the issue. If you want to try descaling first, there's plenty of videos on that. But this is either a pump issue or some major scale or buildup or something wrong with the level sensors. So the first thing I done is unplug this, and of course there's still going to be some hot water in it. And I went to the sink and went back and forth to purge a lot of the water out of the tank. Just be careful not to get burned and try to get as much water out as possible. I know we got one screw up here on the top, what I'm calling the left side, the tank side. And we got 5 or 6 screws here on the bottom. It looks like 5 screws on the bottom. And these screws are longer than that one on the top, so just keep that in mind. I think that's the only screws. It's the only screws I see on this one. We do see some tabs here to take this top lid off. You can see there with the flashlight. We have these 2 tabs on the bottom as well. So after we get that top off, maybe the whole cover will slide off. We do have to move this lid back and forth to be able to get to those catches. These little tabs are pretty tough to get to. I am forcibly prying here some, because some of the catches I just can't get to. I have to pull them up. I know we have 2 right here by the handle. Maybe this small thin screwdriver can get in here better. Still catching. I'm kind of running out of patience here. There we go. So this little black piece that popped off is a 90 that is for the tank return. If something overflows, it'll return back to the water tank. I'll stick that back on there. I might set it aside and put it back on later, but there's the 2 catches. You can see them a little bit better where the catches are for the top. These catches here, and just fits on like so. So even though I have a wood worktop, I do have a clear covering over mine. Just keep that in mind, that there's going to be some water probably spill out of here at some point. Hopefully not much, especially as we have it upside down fooling with these catches here. It felt like that one released. Yeah, that one released. This left side don't feel like it's releasing. This one might need some persuasion. There we go. Up and back, and we'll separate it. Yep. Pull it apart. We see here we have our slots on both sides. So there's the left side as well as the right side. And this is our pump. It's just one tubing attached, and this is what I want to look at first to make sure there's nothing obviously wrong with the tubing or leaking, and make sure the pump is working properly. It just plugs in, looks like right here on the board with a little connector. So that's easy enough to unplug. I don't see anything on the board obvious or burned that could be an issue. As we look here, we see where our tank, when you set it down, the little spring-loaded like check valve pushes down and allows water to enter. Looks like we got our level control, or at least our low level indicator going up, and it goes through what looks like a strainer to me to protect the pump, and you inlet to the pump. And check out that pump, it's got encoder feedback, so it actually knows the speed it's running. That's pretty cool. And again, this is the pump we're interested in. It just has little tabs, and it just pulls right out. These little rubber tabs just keep it from being noisy, because it is like a diaphragm pump. It's going to just move back and forth and be pretty noisy without some dampening. I know this is just air, it's supposed to be only air. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't have any liquid in the line when we break it, and awesome, it's clean as we suspected. The pump actually looks really good, nothing obvious. We'll just disconnect it here and see if we can run it with a bench supply, maybe 12-13 volts on it. That's what the connector looks like, and this is the mini pump if you're interested in the number. I'm back now with my power supply at about 13 volts, and I'm just going to put these little jumper wires in this JST type connector and just see how the pump runs here. So with the voltage on the pump, it seems totally normal. That's what I would expect. I don't have one to compare it to, but all seems normal. The current's low, it's not overheating or anything. All looks good. Now if you don't have a benchtop supply like this, a 9-volt battery would probably run it just fine. It's going to be a little weaker, of course, but here on video I'll show you what it sounds like in case somebody has to check their own. If you have a 9-volt battery to test it with, and a little weaker, but you can tell it's working fine, so there you go. I'm just going to get this all connected back up and hook it back up on the board connection, and just be very careful and test it out with the cover off in case I need to check something on the board that's actually controlling the output to the motor. You just pull that little tab and it just slides right in. Connector connects right back up. Here's a little overview of the board if you're interested, and be very cautious anytime you have mains voltage and something exposed like this. These lower wires, of course, are mains coming in and going to your heater. That's your relays that controls a lot of that. Maybe it may even be a safety relay. The cutoff if it senses an issue. But so it looks like Q8 right here is what's controlling our little pump. It probably gives it a pulse width modulation. I have not tested that to say for sure, but that's what it looks like it's possibly doing. And the connector above it is for the actual pump, and the encoder feedback, as you can see here, is we can also see our terminals, our actual heating element on the bottom of the tank there. The two silver looks like shafts coming down and soldered onto the white and black wire there. All our hoses look in good shape as far as I can tell. No evidence of any prior leaking. Yeah, again, we just got to put a little overflow 90 back on. Just make sure you don't forget that before you put it back together. Hadn't taken that apart, but nothing looks like it's leaking or anything. So we'll just plug it back up and be very careful here and just see how it does. I got some water back in here and just pushed in temporarily. We'll cycle the lid. Now let's go with small, well, next to the smallest. I think that's a 6-ounce size. And I mean, everything seems to be working correctly. We know the pump is pumping out. Just why is it stopping short? And would you look at that? It's actually doing as it's supposed to. It's actually purging, and you can tell air is being forced through the K-cup, or in my case it doesn't have a K-cup, but it's forcing the air through, and that actually worked as expected. Let's try it one more time here. I'll just do the smallest brew size here, so it won't take quite as long. I don't have a lot of water in the tank right now either. I don't believe it was anything with the pump. The pump actually was fine. I believe it was more than likely some scale buildup on the level probes. We must have finally cleaned it off by just taking it apart and being kind of rough with it. Is all I can figure. I'm just going to put it back together here, and this cover just slides back on. And right here, you need to lift the lid up for this cover, yep, to go in place right there. There we go. Lifting that lid up helps this slide back in place. I'll probably see how it does for a week or so before I post this video. I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in the bottom. Just remember to go ahead and put this little 90 tip back on your overflow pipe back to the tank before we put our cover on. And the cover just pops on just like that. The short screw goes here. And there we go. Ready for some more coffee. And here we go back together now. Let's check it one more time. And there we go. That's what I want to hear. All I can figure is it may have been more scale build up than that was taken off with descaling. I believe my pump was fine. We also see I add water blinking, so we double checked our level indication here too. Awesome. So I hope this video may help you today as well, especially if you think you need a pump replacement. These steps will show you exactly how to do that, as well as what connector this one had for the K-Elite K90 model. I hope you found the video helpful. I'll also have some links down below the video in the description of tools and items that I find helpful on my workbench. Any of those links you find interesting and would like to click on help support the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So thanks so much for watching, and God bless.